hang on there for a second. I have a question for Gaurav Sawant, my colleague. Now, this particular visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, the implications that it has on in India and for the overall regional peace, if you could give us a little bit of perspective in terms of what this means.
So India is watching very closely, as is the world. Nancy Pelosi is virtually pulled off a coup, as some have argued. The fact that her country didn't, her president didn't want her to go, her military didn't want her to go in, yet she went. And she's made some very, very strong points that China would not like to hear at all, especially when she talks about how China has trampled the democracy and values and core values of human rights in places like Xinjiang, what it's doing to the Uyghur Muslims. She talked about how China does not believe in following international law in terms of what's happening in Hong Kong. China spoke of one country, two laws, and it threw it in the bin. She wrote about this, she's spoken about it, and she's talking about strengthening democracy in Taiwan. Now, all of this China sees as interference in China's internal affairs. As far as India is concerned, well, India's made it very clear, India's talking to China, but India has said that as long as there remains that situation, the standoff along the line of actual control, whether it's in Ladakh, and Ladakh has to be restored to April-May 2020 situation, it cannot be business as usual with China. Now it remains to be seen how long does it take for restoration. There have been multiple rounds of talks, but the situation hasn't come back to normal at all. Far from it. China's building up in a big way. India's trying to match up to that build-up in a big way. And this is where, perhaps the Indian perspective differs with a lot of perspective that we hear from other parts of the world, Karees. India, does see China for what it is at the line of actual control and elsewhere. But in the short term, you're saying Taiwan's problems will increase. In the short term, does Xi Jinping lose some of that power projection given Nancy Pelosi has pulled off this trip? Business as usual with China. Now it remains to be seen how long does it take for restoration. There have been multiple rounds of talks, but the situation hasn't come back to normal at all. Okay, we'll try and reestablish that line with Karees in a moment from now. But we're looking at these pictures.
And I also want to draw our viewers' attention a bit to the implications for India. And now the real military standoff begins really after she leaves, isn't it, Gaurav?
It indeed does, because once she's out on her way to South Korea, this is where China will perhaps, one, step up the rhetoric. Two, it started moving its assets, and it's given out the area where it will carry out its live fire military exercises, and 6 places around Taiwan is where these military exercises, live firing exercises, are to be carried out from the 4th to the 7th. And this is where it will try to blockade Taiwan, send out a message that what Taiwan has done is unacceptable to China. Militarily, this is trying to show Taiwan its place. But Taiwan has also sent out an equally strong message saying, we are not looking for a fight, but we are resolute that we will defend our territory. That's the statement that's been put out by the Ministry of Defense in Taiwan. And that is why this situation could, from this point on, become extremely tense unless there is someone who talks both the parties down into negotiation and forward movement. Now, Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, is looking at an unprecedented 3rd term. To do that, he has to look extremely strong internally.
You're speaking of an external intervention, Gaurav. You're speaking of somebody talking to both the countries right there. Which country should be interfering in this particular business that is being conducted right now?
So as of now, we will be seeing the United States in negotiation. We will be seeing several other countries. Given the situation, the US will increase its presence in the Taiwan Straits and waters around it. As Karees was just explaining to us, in case there is a blockade of Taiwan, then there could also be a blockade of the Malacca Straits, of the Hormuz Straits, and that sends out a very clear signal to all sides that international law has to be respected and maintained. Will China do that? Some reports, Kareem, seem to indicate that China has also been measured in its response. Yes, there's rhetoric for internal consumption, but externally it may have violated ADIZ, but it hasn't violated the airspace.